Hello everyone, welcome to Telugu One Academy. Today friends, we will be starting our topic on security challenges and their management in border areas. So first we will go through the land border and then we will go through the maritime border of India, and for today's class we will start with the border management in the case of Indo-China, and in further classes we will cover all the international borders that India shares with its neighbor countries. Now let's see the border scenario of India. Border scenario of India. India has around 7 neighboring countries. Friends, in that we have largest boundary with Bangladesh. With Bangladesh, India shares its largest boundary, and then the second largest boundary is with China with around 3,488 kilometers. It can also be called I can simply say that it is the world's longest disputed border. World's longest disputed border which is having the longest length. Next is Pakistan. We share around 3,323. This is our Indo-Pakistan border, and this is our Indo-China border with LOC here and here. Okay, we have disputed areas with India and China. Next, we have an open border of 1,751 kilometers with Indo-Nepal, and with Myanmar we have border ranging in the northeast India, that is for 1,643, and Bhutan, it is the smallest state, we have 699 kilometers. Though with Afghanistan we have lost the natural boundaries because of the Pakistan occupied Kashmir in the line of actual control beyond region. Here we have Afghanistan with a boundary of 106 kilometers which we have in our official. As I said you in my introductory class, that my friends, India's boundary is not a monolith, that each boundary of India has its own challenges. As I told you in previously, that Pakistan, when you see, this is the part what we share with the Pakistan, okay, though this is a disputed part. So this is the part what we share with our Pakistan. Here we have Kutch marshes, marshy place, this is marshy. Here we have desert. Okay, here we have Himalayas. Okay, here again we have Himalayas with China, and here we have Nepal, which is open border, that is a different challenge, and here we have riverine terrain, again natural boundaries, forests, etc. So you can see how diverse the Indian land borders are. So a monolith or a single institution cannot handle these different borders. That's why we have different border police forces. About different border police forces, we have done in a separate class on various border force institutions. Please watch that also. And we will restrict ourselves with the border issues itself. So India has land border of up to 15,000 kilometers which shares it with the 7 countries, and it also has a maritime border which is around 7,500 kilometers. Okay, India case borders are quite complex, and almost every type of extreme geography, as I shown you, that is riverine terrain, marshy terrain, forest terrain, Himalayan or mountainous terrain, desert terrain is present at different boundaries. Example, desert, fertile lands, swampy marshes or tropical evergreen jungles are also present with India's borders. What exactly is border management? We know what is border. But border management is a complex task which includes interacting with the people living in the border areas and also making them aware of border area, and through their help to surveillance the border is also an important task in border management. Let me explain you again. While border security approach deals only with defending borders, the border management is a broader term which involves not only defending the borders but also protections of interest of the country on ailing borders. So you have to protect the interest of the people who are at the border of India. That is how you are providing them communication, how you are providing them all the facilities what the mainland people of India are getting. Okay. The Department of Border Management, which is under Ministry of Home Affairs, my friends. Ministry of Home Affairs, please note it down, please note it down. Focuses on the management of international land and coastal borders, strengthening of border policing and guarding, creation of infrastructure such as roads, fencing, flood lightings of the border, and implementation of border area development program. Friends, regarding all the various schemes which are brought by Ministry of Home Affairs in the management of border areas, we will learn in a separate class. Here we will focus on just the issues and introductory classes of border management. Next, what are the issues related to border management in India? As we have seen that India's border is very complex, having all the extreme geographical terrains. With that also comes the challenges like porosity of borders. What exactly is the porosity of borders? As I showed you, because of its complex geographical terrains, the border is not completely fenced, especially in the regions such as Himalaya and desert areas such as Rajasthan and marsh areas such as Kutch region. So international borders with Pakistan and Bangladesh runs through diverse terrain including desert, marshes and plain mountains. This porous nature, that is, you can't completely fence it, you can't build a wall there, okay? Because of that nature, there have been influence or insurgent groups coming through that area. Even people trying to migrate into India for utilizing the Indian ground to breed terrorism and all those activities. Even in the case of Myanmar, where there was Holocaust on the Rohingya Muslims, they came to Bangladesh. From there, they tried to come into India. So all this was happening because of the porous border. And there is also smuggling which goes through that border, honey trapping of the officers of border security forces. Okay. The porosity of border facilitates various illegal activities such as smuggling, human trafficking, drug trafficking, humans, drug, arms and infiltration by various other groups. Next, we also have contested the international borders. That is, our border has not been settled with most of our border countries. One of such borders is line of control, which is with India and Pakistan. We haven't settled our boundaries, especially in the northern region. We haven't settled our boundaries with Pakistan. Skirmishes with Pakistan along line of control makes India heavily susceptible to cross-border terrorism. And next, similarly, India's border with Myanmar is threatened by several insurgent groups that have their homes or have their safe havens in Myanmar jungles along the border. Next, political boundary issues. What we have is with Bangladesh, where we have large number of enclave. What is an enclave, my friend? Enclave is nothing but our territory in some other's country. For example, so here if this is Bangladesh, so this all area belongs to Bangladesh and this part belongs to India. So there are many such enclaves, around 500 plus enclaves were present in Bangladesh which belonged to India. Okay, so with the enclave exchange agreement, we were able to solve that issue with Bangladesh. See, enclaves and adverse possessions in Bangladesh have resulted in political sensitivity along the entire eastern border. We have just exchanged most number of enclaves. That is, we gave up our boundaries to them or our areas to them, and we took some of their areas to India, so that the people living in this area get their citizenship and all the rights enjoyed by all other people in their own states or countries. Inefficient border management, okay, because you see, Indian borders continue to be guarded by military and police forces that report to different ministries. For example, defense report to Ministry of Defense, border police forces report to Ministry of Home Affairs. In the case of Assam Rifles, where operation is with defense and but the management or the recruitment process is with Ministry of Home Affairs, all that issues we have, making the border management tax arduous and leading to duplication of efforts by security forces. Lack of critical infrastructure, okay, like we have bold quit, that is we are trying to modernize our border. Modernize, that is BOLDQIT. Okay, that bold quit infrastructure, which we are trying to modernize all the critical infrastructure around the border by using laser fencing technology. Okay. Critical infrastructure such as observation towers, bunkers, border floodlights are lacking in many border areas, which also prevent deployment of high-tech equipment. Even we have poor intelligence resources in the case of borders, especially in Northeast, though we have IB, but the intelligence gathering is not very high. And ethnic conflicts and separatist movement taking place around the borders. In Northeast India, we have separatist movement from Nagaland, which want to become a separate nation. Okay, now they want a separate Nagalim. So when insurgency starts, my friends, it never ends. The final phase of separatism is nothing but having a separate country. The situation has worsened due to the changing demographic profile of border states. Especially, friends, what happened due to the porosity of Indo-Bangladesh region, many of the Bangladeshi Muslims, many of the Bangladeshis have been infiltrating into the Indian territory, especially in the regions of Northeast, especially the Assam area. So that's why there was a continuous fight for developing National Registry of Citizens, National Registry of Citizens, and we have also created identity cards for the people living in the border areas. This issue also we will talk elaboratively because it was in news for a long time, and regarding this also we will talk around Citizenship Amendment Bill or Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. That also is very important. Of many border states and shift in ethnic balance of communities a result of illegal migration. What happened? The Muslim population or the non-local population has increased. Then what happened? The local tribals thought we are losing our identity here now. So now we have to fight back these people who are non-locals. And overpopulation in border areas. The density of population in border areas at some places approximately 700 to 800% per square kilometers on India side and about 1000 persons on Bangladeshi side, because those are all fertile lands which were flown by river floods all those regions. Next, political instability and disorder. In the periphery impacts the Indian security directly or indirectly. Proxy wars between India and Pakistan adds to this security risk. Because of political instability in Myanmar, what happened, my friends? Many of the Myanmar people have been coming into India, especially because of mass killings of Rohingya Muslims. They were infiltrating into Cox's Bazar region of Bangladesh. From there, they were trying to come into India. Okay, and they are spread all over India in different places. Okay, each and every topic I will give you in whole, but now we will come to the issue of India-China border. Okay, in this class only border issues. Much about them we will learn. India-China border, world's longest disputed border. World's longest disputed territory. One can divide this India-China border into eastern, western and central regions. Okay, this you can call eastern sector, and you can call this central sector, and this is the western sector. Okay, in western sector we have a dispute with China, especially after 1962 war. After 1962 war, a large territory of Jammu and Kashmir called Aksai Chin have been conquered or occupied by China. Though in 1962 war, it even tried to occupy the Arunachal Pradesh region, they were retreated back after a due agreement. So they even want the Arunachal Pradesh, almost every part of Arunachal Pradesh as a part of China. Okay, even at with Bhutan, it did not complete its. So it recognized that Sikkim is a part of India. China recognized Sikkim as a part of India, but it did not recognize the complete territory with Bhutan, where it still goes a dispute and has a border talks. So whole area we have disputes with China. India and China share the second largest boundary, okay, we have with China, 3,488 kilometer that runs along the states of Jammu Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. Unfortunately, the entire boundary called McMahon line, okay, is disputed. Because my friends, when McMahon line was made, China did not had any boundaries with India. Unless China occupied Tibet in the year 1952, okay, then we got a boundary with China. Till that time, we never had a boundary with China. And when this agreement was made, it was made with Tibet, and China also said, okay, fine at that time. In 1800s, it was happening. But then, when China was created by occupying Tibet, China said, no, we are not ready to recognize this McMahon line. Now, we have to remember one point, the Indo-China border line is called McMahon line. The Indo-Tibetan border police force guards this whole Indo-China border. You have to note this down, Indo-Tibetan border police force. Even Assam Rifles also helps in guarding the region of Arunachal Pradesh. India and China never shared a common boundary till China liberated or occupied Tibet in the year 1950. Since 1954, China started claiming large tracts of territory along the entire border, such as Aksai Chin in Jammu and Kashmir, some areas in Uttarakhand and the entire Arunachal Pradesh. They were saying it is a territory of ours. So border disputes. Now we will concentrate ourselves on the western sector. The Aksai Chin in 1865, Johnson Line, which put Aksai Chin in Jammu and Kashmir, but China at the time did not control Xinjiang, so it was not present to them. What happened when Aksai Chin became a part of Jammu and Kashmir? This is Aksai Chin, my friends. Okay, this is Aksai Chin. What happened is, when this was created in the part as Jammu and Kashmir in 1865 by Johnson Line, then Xinjiang province was not in control of China at that time. So China was not included in the talks, and now it says, no, we want that part also. In 1890, China re-established control over Xinjiang and claimed Aksai Chin. Then Mackenzie-MacDonald line was agreed to by British government on the proposal by Chinese. However, Chinese government did not respond to the note to effect in 1999, and the British took the Chinese acquiescence. What said? When this McMahon line was drawn, they said China did not comment anything. In 1899, the British said, now you are not responding to our question, now this territory will be the part of India. So you can see how whole region is divided. Here we have NJ 987, this is Siachen Glacier region. Okay, a lot of, this is Wakhan corridor where we have border with Afghanistan. This is Gilgit-Baltistan region. This is also called Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Here you have Azad Kashmir region. This is called Azad Kashmir. This whole line is line of actual control. Line of control. This is line of control, I am sorry. And this whole region is line of actual control. LAC with China. Okay. LAC with China. Here we have Depsang Plateau, and here we had Galwan clashes, especially in this region. This is called Galwan. Okay. Fongsong Lake at Fongsong Lake. Friends, you can observe each and every border aspect, especially in the western region here. Okay, please try to note down. Where exactly is Siachen Glacier? It is within the Karakoram range. All that geography also you need to remember, especially for your prelims purpose. Whenever internal security news comes, to connect it with geography, especially for the purpose of borders, it will help you to solve your prelims question. So then, China didn't say any word. After 1947, India used the Johnson Line as a basis for the official boundary, but in 1950s, China built a road falling south of this line in the Aksai Chin region. So we said Johnson Line you have accepted, you didn't say anything. Now our Aksai Chin is ours, but China said, didn't say anything and started building roads into the Aksai Chin region. Intermittent clashes along the border circumvented into the Indo-China War in 1962, which resulted into existing line known as Line of Actual Control. The region also witnessed standoff between India and China in Daulat Beg Odli sector in 2013. This Daulat Beg Odli sector, we are also building a road till the Siachen Glacier under Dowlat Beg Odli, what you say, road system. And now the recent clash which has taken place in the year 2021 was Galwan Valley clashes. Though none of the gun fired, not even a one bullet was wasted, but a lot of Indian and Chinese soldiers lost their life in a fist fight. Okay, what happened exactly? The Indian and Chinese armies engaged in a standoff in Phongang So, Galwan Valley. Phongang So is a lake in that region. Demchok and Dowlat Beg Odli in the eastern Ladakh. A sizable number of Chinese army personnel even transgressed into the Indian side of the de facto border in several areas including Phongsang Lake. So this is the region where exactly it happened. Okay, here it happened in the Galwan Valley clashes region. One can note down that. So what happened was, this Phongsang Lake is a resource rich lake, and there are also geological proofs that this lake contains lot of reserves of natural gas. Now you know obviously the tactic of China, that it wants the whole lake so that it can extract all the mineral reserves and gas reserves within the Phongsango lake. So it wanted to conquer all the lake. But what happened, according to line of actual control, half part of Phongsang Lake, that is major part, comes into India and very little part goes into China. So now it shows its true nature. It wanted to attack us. So this was happening. The actions on the northern bank of the Phongsango Lake are not justified for territorial gains on land, but enhanced domination of resource lake. In this clash, with 20 Indian soldiers were killed, was one of the worst in 45 years and led to the military standoff with China. At least 11 rounds of military talks for disengagement process, no bullet was fired. So around 20 Indian soldiers, but China said no casualty on our side, but later it accepted by saying that around 5 soldiers of theirs were also died in the clashes. So this was the exact picture how the clashes were taking place. See, the army personnel of us are stopping with their hands widespread without using any harmable instruments or weapons in their hands. This is the Phongsang Lake whole system. So next we'll also learn about the eastern sector, that is Arunachal Pradesh and system, wherein Shimla Accord of 1913-1914, boundary between Tibet and British India was defined, and negotiation between British and China and Tibet, and this boundary was named after McMahon again. In Shimla agreement we have said we are taking Arunachal Pradesh as a part of India. However, interestingly, China accepts McMahon line as its boundary with Myanmar provided by the same agreement. Then what happened, my friend? Before Myanmar was separated as Burma, Myanmar was also part of British India. At that time in 1913-14, Myanmar was separated from India. Myanmar was separated from India. Then China is saying, I accept Myanmar's boundary with me, but I won't accept with India. Because they thought the real threat for their communism is the democracy of India. Indian side of border is being guarded by different agencies which include ITBP, Special Frontier Force agencies, Assam Rifles and Indian Army, especially in this eastern segment. This Special Frontier Forces, my friends, it was created after 1962 Indo-China War. Most of the members who are recruited in this are Tibetan exiles. And okay, this is one of the premier force. It doesn't come under Indian army, but a premier force. I have said an elaborate clause on this also. Next, Indian army and proposed Sikkim scouts, leading to a lack of coordination among these agencies. On the other hand, on the Tibetan side, the entire line of actual control is managed by border guarding division of Chinese People Liberation Army under a single Liberation Army commander of Tibetan Autonomous Region. So what is happening here? We have different guarding forces, but no common authority to tell them to do what. Okay, one cannot give direction. Different, you see, ITBP, Ministry of Home, SSF. SFF is something, a different department which has its own cadre. Okay, but operates under Indian Defense or Indian Army. Again, Assam Rifles, as I told you, dual ownership. One is Indian Army, one is home. But China is having one authority for guarding the border. So this is one of the negative nature of Indian guarding forces. Next, what happened recently? Very recently, China has named few of the regions in Arunachal Pradesh in Chinese terms, saying that this territory is mine. This territory is mine, or this is a part of Tibet, China. So what happened? China's Ministry of Civil Affairs has issued standardized names to 15 places in Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh to be used henceforth on official Chinese map, part of border recent moves by Beijing to set up territorial claims. It is saying, I have just named this territory in Chinese terms, so this is mine, and I have even drawn this region in my map, so it is mine. Just by drawing the map and just by naming that term in some other Chinese terms doesn't mean you have authority over that region, because those people who are living in Arunachal Pradesh are citizens of India and they have taken the constitution as their mother document or document of land. Next, Arunachal Pradesh is shown on the Chinese map as Zangan or South Tibet in 2017. Beijing issued 6 official names for the places there, which was at the time seen as retaliatory move after Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama visited the Arunachal Pradesh, because they hate Dalai Lama, because Tibet is headed by that spiritual leader called Dalai Lama. So in retaliatory measure they have shown this whole region is mine. Next, the central sector, my friends. As I have shown you, central sector is bordered by Sikkim, okay, this region. This is the central sector, Sikkim-Bhutan border, Sikkim-Bhutan border. Even here, we have a different stand-up that is called Doklam stand-up. We will see about that. This, though undisputed, although China has recognized Indian sovereignty over Sikkim and had initiated trade at Nathula Pass, the Doklam fiasco could mean a trouble to all ends. After Indo-China war, my friends, in 1962, this Nathula Pass was closed. After many years, in 2003 or so, we have opened the Nathula Pass. This sector is almost undisputed, but a recent skirmish happened that is called Doklam Plateau standoff. Where exactly is this Doklam Plateau? This Doklam Plateau is a region bordering Bhutan and Sikkim. This is mid part, this area. This area is Doklam standoff. What happened? The China was trying to build roads in this region. As this is very near to the chicken neck of India, that is also called Siliguri corridor. Siliguri corridor, this region, the people thought that China is trying to get into the territory of Bhutan. Then what happened? Bhutan army has coordination with Indian army. Then Indian army people went and stopped the Chinese construction of road. This was a very large issue, and even at that time Bhutan was in favor with India. So there was a standstill agreement again there. So the Chinese stopped the construction of road and they went back to their actual position. So as it is very near to chicken neck of India, that is Siliguri corridor, it could have led during the time of war that Chinese could easily occupy the Siliguri corridor and completely disrupt the connection with northeast India. Next, another issue which majorly affects India's interest is China-Pakistan economic corridor. This China-Pakistan economic corridor passes through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir region of Jammu and Kashmir. So we are opposing consistently, saying that we can't leave our territorial claims on the Pakistan occupied Kashmir region, or it is simply called Gilgit-Baltistan region. By constructing a road here, my friends, China has advantage that during war it can deploy its army and all its arsenal and weaponry because of its advantage in this infrastructure, and can easily enter Jammu and Kashmir region and can capture the region. China can use to mobilize troops and conflict against choking of Strait of Malacca and India case of conflict. What happened? If we are choking the Strait of Malacca for China, it can easily counter us by using this China-Pakistan economic corridor, because it reaches to the southern part of Pakistan till the port cities. We even have not a direct water disputes with China, no direct water disputes, but China is consistently building dams, especially on the Brahmaputra river, which is the lifeline of Bangladesh. Okay, please note this important point, lifeline of Bangladesh. It could also lead, because all these dams are ticking bombs. Whenever it want to flood, it want to cause mass destruction in India, it can simply open all these dams and flood large amount of waters into the Brahmaputra, which can flood complete regions of northeast, especially the Assam region and Bangladesh. They will be under flood and there will be a mass destruction of infrastructure, property and loss of life, animal and environment in that region. Okay, you can note all these points. Not next, what were the various initiatives taken by India and even from the Chinese side to resolve these border disputes? So it didn't start soon after the 1962 war. It started late in 1976. After 1962 war between two countries, they started having high-level border talks in 1981. But these talks were not a successful talks, they did not take us anywhere. But later under Rajiv Gandhi in 1988, where he formed a joint working group was set up to look into the border problem, because he was the person to visit China after Indo-China war, okay, first Prime Minister. Then in what happened, an important agreement was made, very important agreement in 1993. One need to note down this agreement for sure. This fetches you good marks. What is that agreement? Agreement on the maintenance of peace and tranquility, 1993. Agreement on maintenance of peace and tranquility, AMPT I can simply say, which was in 1993. What happened in this agreement was, we said we are not going to have any aggressive steps, we are not going to fire any weapons in that region, okay, not any more infrastructure to be developed in that region. We have also said we agree, that China said they agree with our Panchashil, that is peaceful coexistence, okay, which were given by the Prime Minister Nehru then before. So all things were agreed and they also signed. An Indo-China expert group of diplomatic and military officers was set up to assist the joint working groups. That is, both the army personnel and diplomats sit at a table and resolve the issue, any standoff which happens. In the case of Galwan Valley clashes, my friends, there were continuous rounds of talks, around 10 rounds of talks, okay, were happening, where diplomats and army personnel sat on the table and discussed, no, we have to solve this issue now and there should be a win-win situations. So what happened after Galwan Valley clashes? Both the Chinese troops and Indian troops went back further rather than coming forward in a clashing manner. It was a win-win situation. Again in 1996, the agreement of confidence building measure. This is also important agreement. Confidence building measure, what happened? There was a live interaction between different army personnel. We shared our communication network. There was a development in the people, in the bordering areas. There was interaction happening. Okay, all this. In 2003, two special representatives, one each from India and China, were appointed to find out political solution to the border dispute. But even here also no answer happened. In 2009, these two special representatives had held 17 rounds of talks, but it seems have made nowhere. And even our Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, even he visited. But what is the major solution for us? What need to do is we need to construct roads. Even we started spy camera project in the region of Arunachal Pradesh, my friend. But it was also a failure because the spy cameras were not suitable for that terrain which is heavily flooded by rain, because in Northeast India, if it rains, it pours. Next, what is the way forward? What is the way forward or the solution for Indo-China border dispute? The way forward, you can't find a solution in your future. Continuously, you need to have talks. That is the only solution. You have to leave it for the future generation, what people say here. See, our troops should battle ready, which could well entail the delivery mass artillery fire and minimal time span should the security forces need at local level so required? That is, develop more infrastructure in that region, make our troops very agile so that they can get into the situation very fast, so fast, and they can even gather all the artillery needed to counter the Chinese attacks. There should be a well-established logistic organization that can efficiently support the existing deployments and any tactical operations that we need to undertake in the areas. Even what they recommend is entire border area or border forces should come under a single ministry, and it could be better if it comes under the Ministry of Defense. Indo-China borders need to be transferred to the Ministry of Defense, which should be designed as the nodal agency, and the responsibility in the field then hence be assumed by the army, as it is being done in the case of China, where People Liberation Army of China controls the border area by its border wing. Even the ITBP, Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force, specifically is trained for bordering this Indo-China border, which has high terrain mapping region, especially Himalayan region. The guard should be used by Home Minister only to guard the border itself. They should never be deployed, because Indo-Tibetan Border Police Forces, my friend, they have been deployed for the purpose of UN peacekeeping missions. Even they are deployed for the purpose of fighting left-wing extremism in the regions of Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, okay, all that region, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. So because of this, what happens, there is a lack of personnel who can guard the Indo-Tibetan border or Indo-China border. So the Home Minister should never deploy these forces, because as I said you, it is the longest disputed border of the world, then it should be guarded very heavily. The diversion leads to disrupting the balance and coherence in our deployment. These are our solutions for Indo-China border. So friends, here we come to the end of this class. I hope you understood what are the challenges India has with these borders. Okay, we will learn what are the various other issues with remaining 6 bordering countries. So we are neglecting our border with Afghanistan, we are left with 5 borders. So we will meet in a new class. So thank you for watching our videos, my friends. This is Nikhil from Telugu One Academy. Thank you.